Maha-Bharata, first part, chapter 32, Sage Duryodhana. When Bhishma heard of the events at Duryodhana, he decided to speak to Duryodhana. Finding the prince seated with Shukuni in his majestic palace, Bhishma approached him. "O child, repeatedly I have requested you not to maintain enmity with the Pandavas. You were advised not to go to the forest, but still you went. Now you have clearly seen the prowess of the Pandavas, and also that of Karna. In your presence, Karna fled the battlefield. It was then left up to the Pandavas to rescue you. O king, in either martial skills, heroism, or morality, Karna is not even 1/4 of any one of Pandu's sons. Now, make peace with those brothers, for your own good, and for the good of our entire race." Bhishma knew that most of Duryodhana's hopes of defeating the Pandavas rested on Karna. Ever since Karna had appeared at the martial arts demonstration and challenged Arjuna, Duryodhana had seen Karna as the only way to conquer Arjuna. Now it should be obvious that Karna was no match for Arjuna. Bhishma looked hopefully at the prince, but Duryodhana, remembering the words of the Dandavas, simply laughed. What does this old man know? The Pandavas are in for a surprise, and Bhishma himself will be part of that surprise when the demons take hold of him. This was how Duryodhana was thinking, but he did not even bother to reply to Bhishma. Suddenly he stood up and walked out of the room. Bhishma could only shake his head sadly. He was not surprised to see Duryodhana's arrogance. Now it seemed that the Kuru's destruction was imminent. Bhishma returned slowly and sadly to his own chambers. After leaving Bhishma, Duryodhana was joined by Karna, Shukuni, and Dushashan. The prince looked around at his counselors and asked, "Tell me now, what remains to be done? How can I secure my good fortune? Let us fix up some plan." Duryodhana told them what Bhishma had said, and Karna became uncomfortable. That Kuru grandfather was always berating him. Bhishma did not seem to like Karna, but Karna felt he was as much a well-wisher of the Kurus as was Bhishma himself. Maybe it was time now to prove Bhishma's assessment of him to be wrong. Wringing his hands, Karna spoke. "O mighty King Duryodhana, Bhishma blames us and praises the Pandavas. It is clear that Bhishma favors them over you. So because Bhishma bears you ill will, he also abuses me. I cannot bear to hear Bhishma's words any longer. O king, give me an army, and single-handedly I shall conquer the world for the Kauravas, just as the Pandavas did before the Rajasuya sacrifice. Let that wicked-minded wretch of the Kurus, that senile Bhishma, see it, and then regret how he has treated me. Simply command me, and I shall leave at once." Duryodhana slapped his friend on the back in delight. "Oh, I am so blessed because you have favored me, O hero. What more could I want than to see your own mighty self-interest in my welfare? Surely my life has borne fruit today. Yes, go out, dear friend, and vanquish my foes. May all good come to you. Now, just ask me, and I shall do whatever I can to help." At once, Karna began to make arrangements for his expedition. Duryodhana amassed a vast army with 1 year's supplies. After consulting with Brahmanas and gaining permission from Dhritarashtra, Karna selected a favorable day to depart. Bhishma and Vidura, however, did not approve of Karna's plan, but they chose to remain silent. Perhaps that fool would be defeated somewhere, and his pride would be curbed. At least while he was gone, he would not be influencing Duryodhana toward yet another rash scheme. Blessed by the court Brahmanas, who uttered prayers for his victory, Karna went out of the city, followed by thousands of troops. First, he attacked King Drupada's beautiful city. Drupada did not pay allegiance to the Kauravas. Like many of the kings who had accepted Yudhishthir's rule, Drupada was not inclined toward Dhritarashtra. But in the end, however, Drupada was overpowered by the superior force brought from Hastinapur and was obliged to offer Dhritarashtra tribute. Karna then moved north, subjugating all the kings of that region. He vanquished Bhagadatta, as well as all the Himalayan mountain kings. Traveling east, Karna overcame many tribes. None were able to defeat Karna in battle, as he rained down fierce arrows. Surya's son was a peerless fighter whom few on earth could face, especially when he was joined by the Kuru army. Karna soon defeated all the kings in the south and then made his way west, conquering and subjugating all in his path. Well within 1 year, Karna had accumulated a huge amount of wealth from his conquests. He carried it back to Hastinapur in a long line of chariots and oxen. Duryodhana and his father and brothers greeted Karna as he entered the city. They congratulated him and embraced him. Duryodhana then said, "Yes, what I have not received even from Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, or any other, I have received from you, Karna. O mighty armed hero, in you I have my protector. All the Pandavas and all other kings are nothing compared to you." Seeing Karna successful, some of the citizens were pleased, while others, favorable to the Pandavas, lamented or remained silent. Dhritarashtra was overjoyed and embraced Karna with affection, considering him to be his own son. And from that day on, Duryodhana, seeking Karna's prowess, considered the Pandavas already defeated. The prince was encouraged and began to think about performing a Rajasuya sacrifice. Now that the world had been brought under his control, Duryodhana wanted to equal the Pandavas in every way. If he could preside over the Rajasuya, then all of his desires would be fulfilled. But when the prince approached his chief priest, requesting him to perform the sacrifice, he was surprised. "Oh, as long as Yudhishthir lives, no man on earth can perform the Rajasuya. It is only possible for one monarch to perform the sacrifice at any one time. Nor can a man perform this sacrifice in the presence of his father." The priest then explained that there was another sacrifice resembling the Rajasuya, which Duryodhana could perform. It was called the Vaishnava sacrifice. No person other than the immortal Lord Vishnu had ever performed it, and it was equal to the Rajasuya in every way. O king, using the gold offered as tribute by the kings of the world, make a golden plow. With this plow you should prepare the ground, and upon that spot I shall begin the sacrifice. Immediately, Duryodhana discussed the sacrifice with his father and counselors, who all expressed approval. Duryodhana then appointed people to the various posts required for the sacrifice, and instructed artisans to make a golden plow. All the Kuru elders were delighted to see Duryodhana performing a sacrifice, an act which they hoped would increase his piety and the glory of the Kuru race. Swift messengers were dispatched to invite all the kings of the world. Dushashan asked messengers to go to Dwaitavan and invite the Pandavas so that they could see the power of the Kurus. But when Yudhishthira heard the invitation, he replied, "Yes, it is indeed fortunate that Duryodhana is performing such a great sacrifice. I should very much like to attend, but it will not be possible, for I cannot leave the forest until my vow is completed. Duryodhana will see me in Hastinapur only when the 13 years of exile are over." Bhima, however, glared at the messenger. "Yes, King Yudhishthira will go when we are ready to put Duryodhana into the fire kindled by our weapons. Go and repeat this message to Duryodhana. When 13 years are complete, Dharmaraj, the Lord of Men, in the sacrifice of battle, will pour onto the sons of Dhritarashtra the ghee of his anger, and that is when we shall come." The other brothers said nothing. When Duryodhana heard the messages, he simply smiled. Thousands of Brahmins and Kshatriyas then arrived in Hastinapur. They were warmly greeted and offered food and drink, as well as appropriate accommodation. Vidura took charge of receiving the guests, ensuring that they were satisfied in every way. And once they had been properly refreshed, Vidura showed them to the sacrificial compound outside the city. The visiting kings brought tribute, and Duryodhana and his brothers offered the Brahmanas charity. At the end of the sacrifice, Duryodhana re-entered his city, surrounded by his brothers and eulogized by bards and singers. His friends and relatives glorified him, saying that this sacrifice had surpassed all those performed by his ancestors, all of whom had gone to heaven. However, there were some fearless citizens who said that the sacrifice did not compare with Yudhishthira's Rajasuya. Although Duryodhana heard what was being said, he did not respond. Indeed, in his heart, he knew it was true. The Rajasuya had been the most opulent and splendid ceremony Duryodhana had ever witnessed, while his sacrifice had come nowhere even near the magnificence of Yudhishthira's Rajasuya. Karna then saw his friend becoming pensive and thoughtful. Placing his arm around the prince, Karna spoke. "O foremost of the Bharatas, by good fortune your sacrifice has been successful. But this is only the beginning. For when the Pandavas are slain in battle, you will then complete the Rajasuya, and I very much look forward to again glorifying you at that time." Duryodhana embraced Karna and thought of the Rajasuya. O Kurus, when shall I celebrate that best of sacrifices known as the Rajasuya after killing the wicked-minded Pandavas? Karna stopped walking and spoke gravely. Hear my words, O king. As long as I have not killed Arjuna, I will not taste meat or accept luxuries. I will give to anyone anything they ask of me. When asked for something in charity, I will never say, "Oh, I cannot give it." Dhritarashtra's sons cheered to hear Karna's vow. Why, they considered the Pandavas to be already slain. And as the handsome Karna strode powerfully into his palace, the Kauravas all praised him, just as Kuvera enters his abode.